Today's show is brought to you by Mouska Planner. You're paying for a travel agent? You may as well use the best. Contact Mouska Planner today.
That always cracks me up. Welcome to the Galactic Council. I am Emperor Dave, coming to you tonight to talk about the Book of Boba Fett, the third episode. So welcome in, everybody, tonight. Let me just go ahead and do a quick roll call. We have Monorail Steve. Hello, hello. We have Fitzmagic, our partner, is in the chat tonight. Jordan Smith, I saw Patty Puddles. I see everybody Boardwalk Bound. Welcome in, everybody. We are going to have a great episode tonight. We're going to go over episode 3 tonight. We've got some good video clips. We've got some great people with you. A little cast adjustment tonight. We have a traitor amongst us. Crew It Up 1313 Sith Lord was not able to join us tonight because, well, he had something more important to do. It is his anniversary, so we're going to let him off the hook tonight. But joining us, we have our special guest from last week who held his own. Like, he killed it. So we're going to bring him back again tonight. So let's go ahead and introduce our council tonight. You know him as the Grand Moff Marc Valentine. Let's bring him in so he can introduce himself, tell you where you can find him. Welcome in, Grand Moff.
Hello, everybody. Thank you so much again for having me back here. It's been really busy on this side of the Empire, so I appreciate these moments.
Yeah, no doubt. Tell everybody where they can find you.
Yeah, so we are podcasting about Disney every single week. We drop our episodes on Wednesday at thisdizlifepodcast.com. And then on Monday, you join me this week for our live stream where we talk about all of the latest Disney headlines. And that is Diz Live, and that's at youtube.com/thisdizlife. And awesome. That's Monday at 7:30, man. We're having a good time over there.
Yeah, definitely. Welcome in, Lisa and Hawk to Fam. Karen, hello. Welcome in, Jill. Welcome in, Mike Wheeler. Welcome in, everybody. You guys are pouring in. We're going to go ahead and bring in the other side of the Force because we can't have the dark without the light. Let's go ahead and bring in Jedi Master, and he is a Jedi Master. DC.
Good evening, Dave.
Welcome.
Good evening, Council. Good evening, Mark. How's everybody doing tonight?
We are spectacular, sir. How are you doing?
I'm doing well. It's wonderful to see all of you on this beautiful Thursday evening, and I'm very excited to talk a little Book of Boba Fett with you all.
Yeah. What did you do last night? Because I saw something you did.
What did I do last night? Well,
had to do with...
Let's just put it this way. My wife and I did our best to help Boba Fett get off planet, at least for a little while. And that's because we, on our little show on DC Michelle Do, our YouTube channel, we have a show called Blocking and Talking where we build Lego Star Wars. And currently, in honor of the Book of Boba Fett, we're building his spaceship.
Nice. So make sure you guys get over to DC and Michelle Do for Blocking and Talking and for all of the other things because they do a lot of fun stuff. So make sure you guys check them out as well. Our last council member of the evening was our guest last week. He is fast becoming a fan favorite and trying to, I think, unseat Sith Lord for his seat on the council. So you never know. There might be a power grab going on. We know him like this because he's not in our intro just yet, but look at him. He just looks like he's coming for you. Ladies and gentlemen, I bring to you Darth Larry. Welcome, Darth.
Hey, everybody.
Larry!
Hey, thank you. Thanks for having me back.
Yeah, so tell everybody where they can find you, who you are, what you do, all that fun jazz so that we can get rolling tonight.
Sure thing. So my wife and I have a YouTube channel called Our Castle Life, where we do Disney content mostly, a lot of unboxings, different subscription boxes. We do go to the park as often as possible with vlogs from the park. We do live streams from the park when we can, all different kinds of things, room tours, food reviews, anything that's, that we can put out there for people to see and maybe, help them out with little tips and tricks and stuff along the way. That's what we do.
Awesome. So let's get into Chapter 3, Episode 3, Book of Boba Fett 3, if you will. Last week we didn't even get through everything last week because it was such a long episode. This week they went ahead and I'm going to go ahead and be the guy. I'm going to start it off. They punted this week. We went back to a 39-minute episode, like in episode 1.
Yeah.
It was short. It was a little confusing at times. They were all over the place. I'm going to actually quote Grand Moff because when we were coming on, he actually used the perfect words. It looked like a hot mess. There was a little bit of that just went on. So tonight we're going to kind of go all over the place because there were some things I really liked. There were some things where I'm absolutely going to make fun of it. And we kind of are going to go over some of those things. Before we get started, overall take, let's give you guys each like a minute to go through overall take of Book of Boba Fett episode 3. Let's start with Grand Moff because he's got the look on his face and even he was disgusted. Go ahead.
So if I had to come up with a phrase to describe this episode, it would be the good, the bad, and the ugly.
Ooh,
the episode had some good things, nothing great for me, some really bad things, and then just some things that I thought were really ugly. And I wondered why it wound up being in the episode at all. The episode was just really short. And at times it was the first time that I wished it were shorter because I just wanted to get through whatever this episode was, which was clearly filler. When you have 7 episodes of an entire season, you should not have a filler episode.
Agreed.
So the stuff that they did, and we'll get into some of the plot points, the stuff that they did in the episode could have easily have been injected or inserted into episodes 1 and or 2. We did get the biker gang. I know a lot of people are going to beat up on the biker gang. Some of the stuff with the biker gang was bad. And some of the other stuff that was with the biker gang was really ugly. But I mean, this was just a wasted episode for me of Boba building his gang or his crew. And I didn't need 39 minutes to do that.
So it's funny because Mike Martin actually said, what's the deal with the short episodes? I got to be honest with you. I'm going to reflect on what you just said for just a second. Hey, Big Heart, welcome in. My complaint isn't so much that they could have mixed it through. I'll go ahead and kind of mimic what you said, which is there's 7 episodes. Why are you shortchanging me in episode 3 at a 39-minute episode? We should be pushing out at 50. So with that, let's go to DC. DC, what was your overall? Because we're going to get into it obviously in just a minute, but overall feeling of the episode.
Well, again, to mirror exactly what the both of you said, I would really like to see someone take this episode, edit it out, and blend it into episodes 1 and 2. I think we could have. I think there were story points that were very necessary to move everything along, but like you said in the opening, the pacing of everything felt really disjointed. Things felt out of place, and let's just say that the showing of him building his gang after he lost his family, so to speak, after we witnessed the loss of his Tuscan Raider family, it felt forced. Mm-hmm. It felt it felt a little more tell rather than show, if you will.
Yeah,
from
I
a
agree.
Storytelling perspective,
Even the
like,
placement
it
of
really
that.
hit us over the head really hard. Say, guess what? He lost his family. Now he's got to build his other family.
Even the placement of that was bad, though, DC, right? Like it should have been right in the beginning. They should have started with that, with the Tuscans.
Right.
And then you could have flashed out of the back of the tank with Dark Chrysanthemum pulling him out.
That will get there.
That's a whole other thing.
We'll get you there. Mark's trying to jump ahead again. He's going to bring in the Bible in a minute. Hold on. We'll get you there.
It was just bad.
Yeah.
No, it
But
was
you're right,
horrible.
Mark. The story beats were off.
Well,
Completely
before
off.
we get to
And
Larry,
that's
the one
first time
question I
it
would
felt
ask.
like that in this
Yeah.
entire series. That's what was so off-putting about it for me.
The biggest question is, because you actually hit on something that I want to get into tonight, so you guys keep this in the back of your mind, and you guys may know the answer because you're all smarter than me. How much time has gone by between the destruction of the Raider village and where we're actually at modern time? Because they don't actually say it; they tease it a bunch, but they haven't actually given us a time frame because they're still meeting Fennec. There's still a bunch of things that haven't yet to happen. So I thought we would see that in this one. We didn't, but let's go to Larry for your opening thoughts, episode 3.
Yeah, to me, this episode was kind of a disappointment. I kind of just go along with what everybody else has been saying. The storyline was really kind of convoluted and mixed in, and didn't really make a lot of sense. Like I said, they could have kind of put a lot of these points in different episodes and kind of made it more of a streamline, storyline where we don't have like a filler episode basically that's just kind of bridging the gap and kind of filling in some holes that we didn't quite touch on in earlier episodes. But we'll just throw this one together and kind of hopefully it'll get us through to the next thing. So I was disappointed with the episode overall.
Does anybody see Larry's hoodie and think that he belongs on Endor?
He does.
Doesn't he? You look like you almost should be like on a scooter bike.
Yeah, you're like with the raiding party on Endor. That's pretty.
You look like you're the raiding party.
Yeah.
Dude, like I just looked down. I'm like, where's an Ewok?
There you go.
Anyway,
I love it. Ewok by Valak.
Valak's making an appearance for a little while. But yeah, let's kick it right off because we're going to go over to DC first go round. Here's the first graphic that we do. We open up. They're discussing who controls what part of the territory. We also get to see for the first time a vendor that comes in. He talks about respect, even though he's literally goading Boba Fett. And I mean, he's literally going at him saying, hey, you know what? You're weak, and it looks it. So what did you take from the opening scene? We're learning a little bit more, which we all know we're not going to go back and say it could have been in 1 and 2. Just in the merits of where we were in 3, it starts out there. What did you think of the opening scene, and what did you take away from it?
Again, bad storytelling. It literally was just introducing that character so we could be introduced to the cyborg gang later on. That was it.
Yeah.
It was just a setup scene. I think explaining how there was a power vacuum when Jabba died, I think that was important to show how the mayor is basically a puppet to any type of criminal syndicate and or gang that runs the city. I think that was somewhat necessary. But again, it could have been placed elsewhere. I could have had that in episodes 1 and 2. So like it felt really clunky. And again, we're introduced basically to the stapler guy from Office Space saying, I need some more money for my water so we can meet the
my GPS report.
The cyborg gang.
Yeah. No doubt.
That's all. It just felt really it felt unnecessarily expository.
Yeah, there's no doubt. I mean, at the end of the day, there's going to be a commonality with a lot of what we're talking about tonight, which is it's disjointed, it was forced, it was pushed. There's going to be a little bit of negativity tonight, everybody. And it's not because we're negative people. It's not because the show's bad. It's because every now and then you get one of those episodes. This is an episode. And did it do certain things? Yeah, it did some certain things. But let's kick it over to Larry. Opening scene, Watermonger comes in, kicking Boba Fett. What do you see?
Yeah, I mean, I feel like this was, again, just a scene that maybe didn't really need or needed sooner, at a different point. Kind of, like I said, explaining kind of how the families, everything was split up. That makes some sense. I mean, Boba Fett's been there in, the daimyo for a while now, and we're just now learning how the territories are set up. I mean, that is definitely something that could have happened a lot earlier. So again, just kind of an add-on scene to introduce kind of the biker gang, what they're going to do. So yeah, it was just kind of a very strange.
Yeah. Mark, you see it any differently?
Unfortunately, no. The best thing that came from the opening, I'm going to try. So let me try to skew positive with the opening.
Here we go.
if you're a fan of Return of the Jedi, you got a cool Easter egg. The coolest thing from this 5-minute sequence was you got a shot of the Bomar monks, and it's the spider thing carrying.
Yeah, at the very start.
Yeah, it's carrying the jar that's got, and yes, that is a brain inside the jar. So Jabba's palace, fun fact about Jabba's palace, it once belonged to an order of monks called the Bomar monks. And they discovered that they didn't want, or they didn't need their bodies in order to reach enlightenment. So they put their brains into this fluid, and then they had cybernetics carrying their brains around for all time. That's that spider thing that you see. The reason that that's an Easter egg is you see that in Return of the Jedi. It's one of the first things you actually see inside of Jabba's palace. Jabba imprisoned all of the monks. So the fact that they're walking around outside leads you to believe that now that Jabba is dead, all of the monks have escaped their imprisonment and are walking around the landscape of Tatooine. Other than that, like, that was the only part of the first 5 minutes that really piqued my interest as a Star Wars fan, because it was just an ultimate Easter egg. Other than that, like, these guys already said it. It was unnecessary exposition that Boba Fett, being who Boba Fett is, that would have been the first thing that he would have done, was get the lay of the land. He wouldn't have set foot into Mos Espa without understanding the neighborhoods and the power structure that was there. So this was like to say it was 2 episodes too late is putting it mildly. It was a waste of airtime in an episode that was already crazy short. And I was banging my head against the wall going, why are we doing this now?
Yeah. Karen actually makes a really good point. She said, I think the show is hyped up much more, so that people expected more. I happen to actually agree with that, because the first week we all kind of sat there and said, hey, Jessica, we all said, something along the lines of, you expected in the first week, and we got to our bridge back to Jedi and yada. And the second week we were like, okay, we're moving forward. Third week, it's like, uh-oh. So, there's a little bit, don't get me wrong. I think the show's being held to a much higher standard. There is no story that we have to expect, because everything we know about about Boba is prior to this. So they are developing the character. It's just, this was not, I think, what any one of us actually expected. So I'm going to go ahead and we're going to do something tonight, everybody. We've got some video footage we're going to actually start bringing into the show to kind of show some things so that you guys can see what we're seeing, so we can break it down. We can talk about it a little bit. We've talked about the biker gang. We are going to make fun of it a little bit because it deserves it. And
or a lot.
or a lot. Well, I have a feeling we're all going to take shots at it. But let me go ahead and bring this up real quick, and let's
Spy Kids on Tatooine.
Oh, geez, I'll tell you what.
Yeah.
I'm calling them the Vespa gang. So, nope. Hold on. That's too far forward. Let's start there. So, this is the part at which, after the Watermonger says, they've got the cyborg or the droid parts in them, he goes over, introduces himself. This is not cinematography at its greatest. It just didn't do anything for me. I'm really kind of disappointed with the interaction that he had. Here he comes in. He's big, bad, Boba. What's he do? He takes his helmet off. That's a sign of weakness right there, right off the bat. He's making himself extraordinarily vulnerable, and then starts dictating. So let's start with Larry. What did you see in the scene? I mean, from the moment he gets there. Go ahead.
Yeah. So just getting a little bit of a description of kind of the gang, that they're human people with like droid parts and all that kind of stuff. So I wasn't really sure what to expect, to be honest, when we first get to that scene. And then when they show it coming up and you see those bright, Vespa like bikes sitting there, and it's like, wow, that's strange. Okay, that's definitely not typical Star Wars, especially Tatooine, right? So that just screams like that's definitely not supposed to be there. And then you see the biker gang, and they're kind of, supposedly without work, right? There's no work. They're stealing water. But then they have all these implanted, droid parts. They have these bright, shiny little Vespa things, that they're riding around on. So it's almost like maybe there's some a little bit more to these, this little gang here, that maybe they're, again, like this up and coming little group that's trying to kind of make a name for themselves somehow. And they're just kind of involved here somehow. And it might get a little twist on here, but it was interesting to see, some different people, different characters. Like but overall, it was kind of very, I don't know. It was a big surprise, and I'm not really sure. I didn't really like it. I mean, to be honest, I thought it was a strange thing to see with those bright colors and just the way they're dressed and everything is just definitely not something you know from Tatooine. So
Yeah.
It'll be interesting to see kind of where it goes. But
I gotta say that Patty Puddles actually put in probably one of the funniest things that I've seen so far. Reminds me of the gang in Back to the Future. So, you know, when Biff gets all, bionic up, that actually is probably the right thing where they had the implants and, you know, Biff grows and he gets bigger and this and that. Mm-hmm. It's probably one of the better comparisons, not to mention the fact that it just reminded me of like Fast and the Furious, like the second one when they're on like, when they're doing like the jet ski racing and things like that. I don't know. It just seems ridiculous. Mark, what do you got on the Vespa gang?
The Back to the Future reference is actually pretty spot on because the scene where Biff is chasing Marty around in the car, remember, ends with the crash and the manure. Instead of the manure, you get the fruit. Yep, so it very much kind of mirrored that chase scene. So not all of the biker gang was bad. Some of the aesthetic was just really off. No one on Tatooine that we've ever met in the history of Star Wars looks that good. There's not a piece of equipment on Tatooine that's that new and that shiny. My Jedi friend over at Bobby's Freaking Podcast and I were having this. He gave me, I want to give him credit for this. So Mike Ruby said to me, the only way that can work for him is if they're like hipsters that are like Coruscant wannabes.
There you go. That's it.
They're just, they're wannabes. They're tired of Tatooine. They don't like the vibe of Tatooine. So their aesthetic, they're like the hipsters of Mos Espa, and they don't want to work for it, but they want to be people that are from the center of the galaxy. And so that's the way that aesthetic could work. And so Mike Ruby, I have to acknowledge that, and I have to pretend that you're right, because that's the only way that I can accept it, because no one that we've ever met on Tatooine has that kind of equipment, or nothing looks that good on Tatooine. Even stuff that looks good does not look that good.
Which is kind of funny, because to your point, when we get there in a minute, they do it again when they show the bikes again, which we'll get to that in a minute. But to your point, they're introducing almost a new aspect to Tatooine. Exactly.
Not all of it was bad though. Like, I have to be honest, and if I'm going to be fair, like Sophie Thatcher was pretty good as Thrash. She was really good, and I didn't mind her. She didn't get any development, but I'm like, I wouldn't be upset if we get more from her and we get to see more. The guy that is his character's name is Scad. He winds up monitoring the space station later on with the eye. Again, the cybernetics were very out of place.
Right.
You can always add new things to Star Wars. It's not that we're closed-minded and you can't add to the existing lore. It just was really jarring, as it's already been said. It did not seem like something that would be native to Tatooine, and as much as that kind of tech, that kind of polish is something that we're more used to seeing in the inside of the Republic, or as you get closer to the center of the Republic than the outer rim. That alone, like, that's my one complaint about them. Other than that, like, the actors who were there, I kind of liked them. I didn't have.
Let me throw this out at.
But see, that's what makes them interesting, Mark. Though, I think that's the reason why they're being brought along. I think these are the best and the brightest that Tatooine has to offer.
You're probably right.
I think that's why they're so advanced. And
so let me ask you guys a question. Since the forum is switched over to that new cast of characters that's coming in, am I a lot off base with the thinking that, you know what, episode 3, we haven't developed Boba Fett, we're developing this gang of characters, yet we still don't have a clear-cut way that the show's going? Is it just bad timing?
Yeah, that's really fair.
The pacing's off. Yeah.
I just feel like we didn't need to open the show when last week we had so much that was introduced and we were looking for answer, and we get this new group of people and I'm going, I don't care about them right now. Right now we have bigger fish to fry. I want to do this.
The only real clear look at who Boba Fett is has come from the past. We don't know. And therein lies the problem with the where the show struggles. and I'm sorry to say, is not the stuff that we've been seeing in the flashbacks. The flashbacks have actually been like really well written. Everything is really well developed.
Yeah,
It's
I agree.
it's the newer stuff that has really gotten the short change in all 3 episodes thus
But
far.
they're not developing it, and that's
Because
their own fault.
They're really not developing it.
No.
And I don't know if that's so. It could be for one of 2 reasons. Is one, which I don't believe this reason at all. They don't know what they're doing. The other reason is they are saving us for a season 2, which is what I
There's no doubt.
really believe what they're doing is they don't want to blow the entire story on season 1. They are purposefully pulling back the reins to give this show legs.
Yeah.
But there's a lot of danger in doing this.
I don't disagree with that statement at all. There's a lot of danger in this, Mark, in the sense that, you know what? If you don't give me enough meat on the bone the first go round, I may not come back for seconds. And
Yes,
there's an issue with that.
Yeah, yes and no, but they also know that we're diehards and we are going to come back.
Yeah, but if you ruin the character, especially when I know Mandalorian's going to come back and it's going to be phenomenal, and I know Obi's coming, and I know other things are coming out, you could see a cancellation if we're not invested in the character because you destroyed 40 years of folklore for us, and you take the character, you don't develop him properly. And I expect, I got to be honest with you, I expect more from the crew that's doing this. DC, what did you see in that scene? Because we kind of cut you off.
Well, no, that's what I was just saying, that they're Coruscant wannabes in that they're the brain trust of Tatooine. And like Mark said, they are tired of being stuck on this rock, and they are better than that rock. That's how they're able to get by and thrive without even working.
Yeah.
Oddly enough.
So
and I think that's how they're just being introduced to us as characters, because they're going to be, like I said, the tech savvy, the brain trust of Boba Fett's gang, because I think we're going to get to see little integral parts of how his machine works, because he's about to enter into an all-out war, and a couple of kids on some space Vespas ain't going to cut it. So
I got to be honest with you. I've had an issue with a lot of these team building movies, like when Deadpool, all of a sudden he has a team, and then someone has a team. And now all of a sudden Boba Fett's got a team. And
right.
Dude, you're a bounty hunter.
How do I for Deadpool?
Deadpool too. So, but hello, Walking with the Woods. What's up, Arlene? How are you? Welcome in. I would say the biggest thing is after that, what's he do? He dictates to the watermonger, cut your price. You guys are coming with me. You got jobs now. He's bringing them in. Okay, so we advance along. There, the cat. And Valak made an appearance. Hello, Valak. Valak's like, no, I don't want to be here. So basically the next cutaway is we wind up seeing him. We get our flashback, right? We flash back. Let me bring this up because this will bring us into the Pike. We see him ride in. What's he see right off the bat? He sees the stormtrooper helmets, which is got to be a weird thing for him to kind of, go back. And where'd he come from? He's cloning. So is it a little weird that he's, there's the stormtrooper helmets, they're impaling him, they've got him there. And then it takes us into, the actual meeting with Pike where, they don't want to pay both sides. I'm going to let you guys kind of go off on this for a second, but, and then obviously it leads right into the next scene, which we'll get to once I get it off screen. Dave's got to get better at this. So let's start with you, DC. What did you see when you saw, he comes riding in? They're obviously playing some imagery for us, and then they go into the Pike. Describe that whole scene for us as to what you felt, because that was actually a good scene.
Well, again, it to mirror what you said, it's like whenever they go to these flashbacks, we are back in Star Wars, right? We're feeling these moments that touch the nerves of nostalgia, because like you said, when he saw those the stormtrooper helmets on the spikes, it automatically brings him back to the thought of the generations past him that became stormtroopers, that were no longer clones. And also I thought it was a nice mirror to when the Mandalorian first gets to Tatooine and finds out about no love for the Empire, so to speak, because there's the same stormtrooper helmets on spikes there, and I thought it brought me back to that storyline as well, and made me feel that cohesiveness. So again, I'm invested emotionally again because I'm back in Star Wars via flashback. But anyway, as he goes in and he talks to the Pike, I'm beginning to see that in this criminal underworld, it's about trust and lies.
Also a reference to Mandalorian.
Yeah. And with that, we are left to, again, see that it's all about things that are perceived as well as things that are put into action. So Boba takes it on good faith, right? That they're paying twice, or excuse me, that they're already paying someone else for protection. So he goes out to settle the score. And what does he find out in that due time? Well, his people are completely slaughtered. And again, he's left all alone and without direction, which is where we saw him essentially at the start of the entire series. So it's like we get a hard reset at that point as far as him finding his people again. So,
and I like the flashback in the flashback.
Yeah. So again, I'm left to think, okay, what do we do for storytelling and pacing here? Because again, now he's back at square one, ground zero. He has no people again in the flashback time. So now he's got to rebuild a whole new family again to bring us back up to the current time where he, meets with Finnick. And that's like a whole 4-year period of time, correct, guys?
Yeah, it's about 3 to 5 years. Anyway, 3 to 5 years. That's
what we have to assume. So are we going to have another set of storytelling to carry us over the next 3 to 4 episodes? Are we just is that just going to be the whole theme of the season? Because I thought it was going to be a merging of the past and the present, to create, the Boba Fett that we will move forward with. But now, I don't know. I feel like I'm being dropped back at the beginning again at the middle of the season.
I don't know, because I feel like I was so off. I thought the Tuscan Raiders were going to play a more prominent role in the show moving forward.
I agree.
Yeah.
And then I was, if I'm being honest, I was like really disappointed to see them being built up so much in the first 2 episodes to then die pretty unceremoniously. I mean, it was,
they didn't even show the battle.
No.
Yeah, I mean, that was kind of like Uncle Owen and Aunt Beru's homestead when you just come upon it and it's already it's been laid waste to.
Wait, here's a question before you go on, Mark, because you may know the answer to this, and I want you guys to run through that. Was the female Tuscan Raider, did they show her killed, or did she escape? Or
they didn't show her.
They didn't show her. We didn't.
Yeah, they didn't show her. Yeah,
we didn't see her body. And I mean, the rule of thumb is in anything Star Wars, unless you see a body, they're not dead.
Yep.
So even when you think sometimes that they've died, they're not dead, a la Darth Maul.
Because they show the stick of the little kid, so we're just assuming that was the implication, so they weren't showing that. But I didn't see her. Now that was brought up in the chat, I just want to make sure we address that.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, it's really possible. So here's the thing. And here's I'm gonna speculate a little bit. So they want you to believe that it's just the Kenton Striders, who's that gang that they stole the bikes from, that acted, and it's not. Like they definitely didn't act alone. Yeah. So the Pikes here's the thing. And again, I think they're setting up a much greater narrative. The Pikes are working and operating under the support of another crime family.
Yep.
And I think that the Striders were given their orders and their marching orders from the Pikes. So if I had to speculate, I don't think that Tuscan Raider is dead. I think she was probably taken captive.
I don't think so.
Because I think they want you to think it's the gang on the nose. But if that's the case, her body would have been there. Like they have no use a biker gang has no use of taking prisoners. The fact that she's not there, I'm speculating that she's been taken hostage by somebody. And I think that somebody is Crimson Dawn. That I think that in that criminal organization that they trade in slaves and they barter in human lives, or they barter in not human lives, but lives. And so I think that that's where some of the people have gone to that were not laying on the Dune Sea.
Yep.
The whole thing to me, again, it's exposition for something that's going to come later. This third episode might improve in quality once we get the story afterwards to say, oh, I didn't notice that.
Yeah.
That scene with the Pikes might get better. But until then, it's just kind of like flapping in the breeze, and it's just unresolved exposition, and it's just not working where it was inserted into the narrative of episode 3.
So Larry, your take on it, because you're left, right? Yeah, it's Larry.
Yeah, right.
Larry.
Larry. Yeah. So I think that just to put a little spin on when Boba comes back and finds the Tuscan Raiders, the camp kind of burned to the ground and everything, that possibly I don't think the Tuscan Raiders are by any means done with the storyline. I think possibly that maybe they escaped. The female character and some of the other Tuscan Raiders escaped, and maybe they're going to meet up with some of these other tribes that were spoken about that we haven't seen yet, but maybe they escape to them, and then when they come back, Boba's going to have more of an army, because let's face it, the Pikes have the numbers. Mm-hmm. If Boba's going to try and raise an army, he's got Fennec, he's got the Gamorrean guards, and he's got the Vespa gang. That's not really an army, especially when you're talking about the Pikes, who are have a lot of numbers to throw at this. So maybe it's possible those Tuscan Raiders, other tribes that we haven't seen, are gonna make an appearance here.
But I think, unfortunately, I don't think that's true. I think next week we've already seen what his solution is. He's going to get the Trandoshans together. He's going to get the Klatooinians together. He's going to get the Aqualish together. They're all sitting at that big table, and he's cutting them a deal. And he's going to say, we have to fight the Pikes. They're off-worlders. And they're all going to say, why? Why would you do this? And that's when he then makes the pitch of who he's going to be. I really, unfortunately, I was hoping that we were getting more Tuscans. I think the Tuscans are spent, and I can't believe they did that.
Well, let me interject here, because I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to play devil's advocate to all of you, because we say in one regards, unless we see the bodies and we didn't see the war and we don't know really what happened, is it possible this is just more of that trickery that we were discussing earlier? This is more misdirection. Yes, we saw a lot of death, but I mean, let's be honest. What does he say when he's in with the Pikes? They are the indigenous people of that area. They own and have for, since the oceans were there. So there's an implication that there's tons of them. And it may just be that this one little individual sect, and he's going to go find the next one. So there is that potential. I would say to you, as you guys said to me just a minute ago into the chat, unless you see a body. So the female runs off. I'm going to say she's not kidnapped. She went to find the next clan, if you will, and they're going to regroup, and we're going to see more of the Tuscans. There's no way that they develop that entire thing for this to go flat, especially when in the next scene that we're going to get into, which we're going to show him in the Banta tank and then go forward. And I'm never going to call him by his right name. So just everybody, I wish Krew's here so I can make him make the face, but Darth Wilkie. And when he gets going with that, what's the first weapon he grabs? Okay.
Oh, it's gaffy stick.
Yeah,
so he immediately goes back to not because it's the only thing there. All of his gear is right there. It's the first thing he went for. So I think that there's something to be said here, because I'm going to roll that in just a second. But give me your opinion, because we're now going to roll forward to Darth Wilkie coming. I got to ask one question. How's he get in? How does he get past everybody, everything? Where's Fennec? Why is she napping on the job? Where are the Gamorrean guards? Why is everybody just like, hey, let's let him get all the way into the main chamber?
That's his job.
He's a sneaky Wookiee.
That's his job.
I know that. He's a sneaky
He's
Wookiee.
a killer.
He's maybe 4 feet tall. You know all about this, DC. How could you sneak in there?
Very carefully.
So we see him in the Banta tank. And I'm going to kind of let this roll for a second. He's obviously, again, we have that same dream. Whoops, wrong spot. Whoop, we're going backwards.
Ugh.
We got to go back to 44. There we go. Nope, wrong thing. Dave's got the wrong cue. We'll get there. One of these days. So we're in the Banta tank. We're looking at, what's going on. We see everything that's happening. What do you think? Oh, I just found it. There it was. So there he is. He pulls him out. And let's be honest, the first episode we saw with Boba, what happened? As soon as he fought, where did he have to go to? He had to go to the Banta tank. This time he fights, Darth Wilkie. They all go through it. And what does he do? He has someone else put in the Banta tank. He's getting stronger.
Well, I mean, he's
He
showing in that.
didn't get injured as bad as the Gamorrean guard, though.
True, but he also put him above him, in the sense of saying, hey, you know what? Go put him in the Banta tank. If he was so injured, or if he was as weak as he was in episode 1, he would have won it.
Well, let's honestly, Boba Fett should have been dead.
I agree.
Black Chrysanthemum would have killed him.
Yeah.
When he had him in that, I was like, that's it. I was like, how are they going to do this? Because Boba Fett's about to be killed. Because let's face it, I mean, Wookiees are the strongest humanoid creatures in the Star Wars lore.
Oh, Han jokes about it, about ripping his arms off.
Right.
So, I mean, they tell you right off the bat, Chewie could rip your arms off and beat you to death with them. So,
and Chewie's not an assassin either.
No,
he's basically an engineer / co-pilot.
And to be perfectly honest with you, if you were talking bodybuilders, Chewie does not look as big as Darth Wilkie. So, but anyway, so
that was another piece of storytelling where I'm like, right.
Yeah, I was
Black
a little.
He's an assassin. That's his
And
job.
he pulls out brass knuckles of all things, by the way, like electrified brass knuckles. Like,
Yeah.
Larry, come on, give us something.
Well, I think that scene, it was cool because you finally got to see, kind of Black Chrysanthemum in some action there, and you got to see Boba kind of, fight, because you haven't really seen him do a lot of fighting so far. He's always been, the new Boba. He's talking. He's gonna talk to you. But I thought it was a good scene. I mean, it was all right to see a little bit of action in this scene. It was more or less kind of the whole episode kind of a snoozer. But it was interesting that, like I said, that he shows up there and then nobody saw him. He just waltzes right in, and just. But I mean, I guess he is a bounty hunter, so there's that. He is obviously huge, but he probably knows his way around. It was interesting that they all kind of show up, all start coming out of the woodwork, the biker gang and everybody. And they kind of see what they can do, and then of course 2 for 2 with the Rancor pit. I mean, nobody knows that thing is there. I mean,
that was my issue.
Right in it, and they drop him right in there again. So. It was good to see a little bit of action, in this episode. So I took it with that. It was all right. It wasn't the best fight scene I think ever, but just to see kind of what Black Chrysanthemum can maybe bring to the table as far as that goes, I thought it was fun. But overall, it was like kind of it was.
Hey, chat, what do you guys think? Should Boba Fett be dead after fighting Black Chrysanthemum, or did he make it through it just because? The Vespa gang showed up. She sticks a butterfly knife in his side, and away we go. I mean, Mark, talk to us about some of the weaponry. Talk to us about the fact that they all gang up on him. They get him into the Rancor pit. Take us into that realm, because I think we beat the Boba.
Sometimes this is where you run the risk of, and you have to walk the line of making the show family friendly. But at the same time, you want to give it a bit of an edge to it. I mean, DC kind of said this, that if this were true to form and it were more realistic, Black Chrysanthemum would have done some real damage. I mean, like, he bites and takes a chunk out of the Gamorrean's neck and goes for the jugular, so to speak. And, it was a very PG-13 rated scene when I think it should have skewed a little bit more R. I understand why they're really just trying to keep the little kids engaged, and they don't want to make it too gory and they don't want to make it too brutal in terms of the fighting scene. But because of that, that's where, like Larry says, it was good. It wasn't great. We're expecting more from Black Chrysanthemum.
Right.
The thing
we should be scared out of our minds, right?
How about Fennec, though? Where is she?
So here's the biggest issue. So we talked about this last week, like in detail, like his backstory. he was a bounty hunter for Jabba the Hutt. He worked with Boba Fett. So to that end, it makes sense. The getting in makes sense. He knows the layout of the monastery because he's worked there. So he knows the ins and outs. He knows the dark spots. That I love. But then he's dumb enough to stand exactly over the Rancor pit.
Yeah.
He would know that that's the Rancor pit because
Yeah.
he has worked for Jabba the Hutt. He spent time in court. So where the writing is really good in some regards, in like, okay, he can sneak in because he knows the lay of the land, then it's just so awful because he falls right into the pit. He's standing right over it. Of all the places strategically where he would never have placed himself, it would be over the pit, Rancor or not. He would have never have stood there. So this is why this episode for me is the good, the bad, and the ugly. This is the ugly for me of this episode. Is there stuff like this that just does not make sense? It's lazy writing, and I've come to expect more from Star Wars at this point for them to just like that's just a giant hole for me.
The biggest thing I got to be honest with you guys, when I saw, when they show that scene where the knife blade comes out, I'm assuming that's Fennec, because at the end of the day, she's supposed to be, we're introduced to her all over the place. She's, she's supposed to be top notch. And what do we see? One more time, she's not. Is she as loyal to him as we're led to believe? Where is she is she over sitting there having a feast? Like, all of a sudden the Vespa gang is there because, to Jill's point, to kind of bring in what Jill said, she said, I thought, whip, that's the wrong one. It's this one. It's to show who's loyal to Boba. And he brings them in, says, I'm going to give you a job. They show up to be loyal. Where's Fennec? I don't get
it.
Dave,
pause for a second. Guys in the council, who hired Fennec to kill Mando?
I can't remember.
Because I think Dave might be onto something as far as tracing her quote-unquote ownership and loyalty.
Wasn't it Pike?
Dave, you could be right.
No, I don't think she was hired to kill Mando. She was
wasn't she?
No, it was she was there with the secondary. Who was the bounty hunter? I can't remember his name. The knockoff Han Solo.
The knockoff Han Solo who went out when they went after him.
She didn't even know that Mando was there. Like, he was a surprise.
Okay, so she wasn't a hired gun?
No, she wasn't hired
I think she was in hiding at that time. But even still, when you go back to it, though, and you look at this whole backstory, first of all, we've been given no backstory as to how the two of them cross-connected. And we haven't seen that relationship develop yet. And the biggest thing that I would sit there and say is, you sit there and you look at it, and what does she do? Because we're going to go into a scene here shortly, which is he and Fennec sitting at the table. What are they doing? She's manipulating him. She's like, sit back, relax. This is what you do. She's telling him how to rule. And so there's a part where I sit there and I go, we're being led with so many different things of misdirection. Is it possible? Because I got to beat on the Fennec horse again. He tells her, in the second one, or the first one, let him live, do this, do that. What does she do? She doesn't listen. She kills the first one anyway. How much of this relationship is what they're showing? How much of it isn't? And where is her loyalty? Because why is she not protecting him when he, it's kind of like the vampire laying in the coffin. You have somebody who protects that coffin to make sure no harm comes to you. He's as vulnerable as he can be at that moment. So where are the guards? Where are the Gamorrean guards? Why are they not standing in that room? Why is
the Gamorrean guards have always showed up late?
But that's the point.
Every single interaction that he's had, they've come in late.
Nobody's protecting the daimyo. He's laying in there by himself. He's totally, totally vulnerable. And they're coming to strike back. We already know that. The Hutts already issued the warning, said sleep lightly.
Exactly.
Okay.
Exactly. Yeah.
They said it, sleep lightly. He's sleeping. Like, there has to get to a point where this has to be addressed. So she's not doing her job. So let's move forward a little bit. We go to the table. They're sitting there. They're eating. He wants to strike back. Why? The bounty hunter in him says, you know what? It's go time. I got to show them, who I am. I'm Boba Fett, man. Let's rock. And she's like, no, whoa, no, this is what you do. She doesn't say, hey, boss, hey, this, hey, that. She says, no, you do this. And she actually says it with some authority. And she's kind of manipulating that circumstance at that point to say, no, let's do this. And then just by, writing, but happenstance, droid comes in. What's they say? The Hutts are outside.
Yeah, the Hutts just happen to be showing up at that point. Yeah.
So you guys, give me a feel about this table. He doesn't want the food. He's getting pissed. He's at the place where it's like, you know what? No, enough already. Everybody, I've been told I'm weak in this episode. I've had people disrespecting me. I've got people stealing. The streets are. I'm starting to go back to being Boba. Give me something, Larry.
Yeah, again, I think that. I think the point that you raised about Fennec, I never really looked at it that way before. I think that does throw a lot of possible, misdirection and into the storyline. So that's a very interesting point to me. I thought that was very, very interesting. But yeah, I think that you can only talk so much, and I think he's finally becoming to realize that he's got to show some action. He definitely has got to show, he has got to put a strength move in here to show that he's not just talk, that he's going to back it up, and that he is going to, be the daimyo of this area. So yeah, I mean, I think it's time. It's building like this whole episode, like we've touched on, is kind of a in between, and I think coming up, hopefully. That we'll see a little bit more action out of Boba than we have in the last few episodes.
I think it's coming, to be perfectly honest with you. And I think, as I'll show the scene with the Hutts in a minute, but DC, take us around the table. What do you see with Fennec and Boba?
Again, like you said, it's Fennec asserting her power, so to speak, as opposed to being subservient.
Yep.
Yeah, so subservient. But she's also been the role of his advisor thus far. So I just thought it was too on the nose as far as the story goes, that he's wanting to take action, wanted to putting everything into gear, and then the Hutts just happened to show up at that moment.
Is it lazy writing, or is it just she knows more, or how do you feel?
It's one or the other. Either it's lazy writing or it's absolutely brilliant, showing that Fennec is in more control than we know, and there's more than meets the eye.
I think they're just trying to give her some kind of they're trying to give her something to do, to be honest with you.
Okay.
I would be absolutely, guys, I'm telling you, I would be floored if there was a turn at the end of this series and Fennec was somehow not completely and totally Boba's ride or die. Yeah. I would be floored. I would pick my jaw up off the floor. I think the life that means something to her. I think that they're just they're writing it this way. I don't know why they're writing it this way, but they're trying to write it, giving her more to do than to just be like a yes man kind of person.
Well, let me give you a tangent for a second, Mark.
It was also interesting that she wasn't present for the first interaction with the Rancor.
No. So here's something that because DC actually alluded to this before. It does actually open a door. If you do cross over to the Mandalorian, she is by herself. She's in the desert. She's by herself. And it does not come down until later when Boba reappears, because we find him in Mandalorian. They're not together. So there's something between this, because there's no way.
So don't forget, he finds her. She's been shot in the stomach.
Yeah.
The spurs.
I get that, but we've been looking for that connection of how they found each other. This is pre-Mandalorian at this point.
No, this is post-Mandalorian.
It's post?
Yeah, this is after the Mandalorian. So
yeah.
Well, because that's what I'm saying. I'm having a hard time with the timeline, because I can't figure out.
Because you jump back and
from
forth.
Tuscan Raider to this point, have we decided how long that is? Because
we haven't seen him. We haven't seen him find her in a flashback yet. We've only seen
This is what I'm talking about. So I'm having a hard time putting that together
You will.
because
You
we
will.
don't know where the loyalty lies because of that, I think.
And you will. I think you're
Yeah.
going
you
to
will.
see that in an episode that highlights her devotion to him. They'll bookend, or at least what I would do is if I were going to bookend their relationship, that would be the flashback that I would then show in that episode, is him finding her dying on the Dune Sea, shot in the stomach, left for dead, and then he shows up as a Tuscan. He's wandering at
Right.
this point.
Or maybe great storytelling. Have the scene where he rescues her after she's shot, right?
Yep.
And then we flash forward to real time, and it's her getting out of the back to tank, and it was her flashback, cementing her
Okay. I'll buy that.
loyalty to Boba. That would be really good storytelling, in my opinion.
Well, the only other life,
You're
the only other life that we've ever seen on camera is that of Han and Chewie. So a life debt is something that's taken extremely serious in the Star Wars universe. And supposedly at this point, like, again, I would be floored if there was any kind of ill will that Fennec Shand has towards Boba. I think that, again, the way that they can get Black Chrysanthemum in and sneak him in and not have her immediately be there is they just kind of leave it out there. It's just,
Well, let me spin it for you a little
Mark,
bit.
see, that's how bad this episode was, that we're grasping at straws, like her turning against Boba.
Well, no, I'm not even saying turning. What I'm saying is and I'm going to go ahead and be the protagonist for a second and say it's simply manipulation. Okay, so in the sense of she's manipulating him to do because she has an agenda. And that doesn't mean she's against him. It could just simply mean that she has an agenda. She's a very, very powerful woman. And at the end of the day, we have watched where she has done her own thing. I'm just saying, is it possible because she didn't sit there and say, hey, in an advisory capacity, maybe we should do this or maybe the course of action. She says, no, this is what you do. And she doesn't.
Yeah, I think that's just a character. I think they're just giving her stuff to do.
Maybe.
I just don't. I don't think, given her history and who she was a lone gun for so long. I think that's just it's very in line with who she was, that like she is loyal to him, but at the same time, she's intelligent and independent enough to be able to assert her authority in that situation and say, this is a terrible idea.
But you use the right word. It's authority. She doesn't have it under him. He has to give it to her. And that's kind of the point, is he's the crime lord. So I think anytime you're dealing with a crime lord of any capacity, there's always ego. So that's why I was saying it seemed almost like and that's why I keep using the word manipulation. But let's move to, because
I think she's the consigliere.
She might be, but that's what I'm saying but there's an authoritative role, but you always know that you must act subservient, because if not, you get and to use the consigliere terminology, you get whacked. So, but let's move to the coolest part, which is, and we go backwards to go forward, which is we do see the Hutts at this point. What happens when he comes outside? He comes outside. We see the Hutts. What do? They sit there and say, hey, by the way, we're all being played. Okay. And they unmask this great thing that's going on around them. And what do they offer them? Rancor. So we finally get our Rancor pit refilled, because we all sat there and went last week, like, where's the Rancor? So we get our Rancor back. What do you guys think of what the Hutts had to say? Let's dissect that a little bit, because I think there's a lot to, as much as they didn't say, there's a lot to unbox, in my opinion. And, let's start with Larry. What do you got?
Well, I think the Hutts are smart enough to know that, if they're not the power player in this part of this, that they're gonna try to play it smart. They're gonna back out, let whoever's the power players are, let them go at it, and then after the fact, come in and then say, okay, let's strike a deal here. Let's do something here. And then, so they're just going to kind of remove themselves off the board and just let it play out to see kind of what happens, and then come in and either pick up the pieces or, take it over for themselves. I think that it was cool to see that, they come out and say, we sent Black Chrysanthemum to kill you. Okay. And maybe that was their strong move. And if he would have taken out Boba, maybe they would have stayed and it would have been a totally different thing. But now, since it didn't work, they're gonna take a step back and say, okay, maybe he's a little stronger than we thought. So we'll go ahead, we'll admit that. We sent Black Chrysanthemum, accept our gift, and then do with whatever you choose with Black Chrysanthemum. He's yours. Sell him back to the gladiators, he says. We don't want him back. We don't want him, he's done his job or tried to do his job, and now he's on his own.
Yeah.
So I think it's typical Hutt, play here. They're gonna play it smart and see where it goes. And I think that when Boba lets Black Chrysanthemum go, he's like he says, it's nothing personal.
There it is right there.
So they're staring it down. Obviously, they've worked together in the past. We all know that. And to say that, it's just business, it's not personal. They're bounty hunters. So they know that, stuff like this is possible.
Possible team up later down. Maybe he joins Boba Fett.
Yeah, maybe he comes back. Who knows? But yeah, I thought it was a cool scene. Of course, the Rancor. It was pretty awesome to see that coming on, and of course with the Rancor trainer, being Danny Trejo was awesome. I thought that was awesome. It put a smile on my face. It was another good part of this episode. I was like, oh yes, you get the Rancor, and then you see Danny Trejo, and it's like, oh yes, okay, here you go. So a little bright spot in the episode.
Did anyone not expect Danny Trejo though? I mean, it's Robert Rodriguez. Were we really surprised to see Danny Trejo?
He was in the drawing, by the way. He was in the mock-up.
Yeah, I'm sitting there thinking to myself, I'm like, of course Danny Trejo's gonna. It's Robert Rodriguez, of course. It's like that guy is his muse. Of course, Danny Trejo's gonna show up. But it was still the best part of the episode with Danny Trejo.
I got to be honest with you. When I saw all of that come together, I really did. I had a smile on my face. It was kind of like, at that moment, it felt like Star Wars for a second because I was sitting there like, there's the Hutts, there's Boba Fett, there's a Rancor, and by the way, there's Danny. It was like, this is just cool. Like, it was a moment where it was just a lot of fun. I actually, we picked on a lot of the episode. That happened to be one of my favorite scenes was the whole interaction with Darth Wilkie, with the fact that he does let him go. He does look at him, and the look is like, wait, you're doing what? I just tried to kill you, and you're letting me roll. And then what's he do? He goes, I ain't sticking around. I'm running. And he takes off, and he books it. I really, really like the scene. That scene was probably my favorite scene in the entire episode.
This was my favorite scene from the episode. This was the good.
Yeah.
This was the good.
So take it away, Mark. Do that, and then we're going to go over to you, DC.
Yeah, I don't believe. So much of what Larry has already said, I think was just spot on. I think his instincts are 100% right in that the Hutts are survivors. This is strategic. This is a strategic pullout that they're not intentionally giving anything up. So them leaving and saying we don't want to have anything to do with Tatooine makes no sense. With given the fact they just shot their shot with Black Chrysanthemum, they missed.
Right.
So now they know, regardless of what their claim to Tatooine is because of Jabba the Hutt, it's all null and void because the Pikes are operating. The Pike Syndicate is operating for them. Mm-hmm. So I can't believe in any world that they would just walk away, given the trouble they just went through to get it in the first place. So what that tells me is they know that the Pikes and Crimson Dawn are coming in and that there's going to be a fight, and war is expensive. The Hutts don't want to fight a war. It's very in line with their personality in the Clone Wars and throughout history. The Hutts are very smart. And to me, their idea is let's let these two sides battle it out. And then when the smoke has settled, we're going to come back in. So I think that they're trying to lull Boba Fett into a false sense of security by giving him the Rancor and presenting him with these gifts. There's no altruism on the part of the Hutts. They are not altruistic at all. They're scheming and they're conniving and they're very shrewd gangsters and they're very shrewd businessmen. So don't believe it when the twins say it's a worthless rock. But that war is bad for business. Believe every bit of that phrase. Danny Trejo was the best part of the episode. I loved the whole adding to the lore of Rancors, and it's continuing to build upon the Clone Wars and Muchi and the Rancors being indigenous to Dathomir. Are we going to talk about Dathomir, Dave? Are we going to get into the Rancor like history, or can I do it now?
Let's do it. I have a feeling next week, because what does he say? Because we're going to get to the fact that he goes down in the cage. He says, "I want to learn to ride it. I want to learn the history."
Yeah, well,
I have a feeling next week. This is me just being me for a minute. I think that there was an absolute nod to what they're doing, and I think that you remember how we were talking about him riding the litter. I think he's going to ride the Rancor through town.
He is. The line where he says, "I've ridden larger." That's the Christmas.
And I think that's going to give you the opportunity, only because we have about 15 minutes left in the show, and there's a little bit more we got to make fun of. Get to. I want to make sure that we do hit on everything. The Rancor, I think, was the highlight of this show. I think we all can agree on that. I want to give DC a chance to jump in, talk Rancor for a minute, and take us into the scene where he does go downstairs and he and Danny have that interaction. They talk about the Rancor itself. He goes up and rubs it like a puppy. So let's go down there, DC.
It was just a really beautiful moment, and to agree with everyone else in the council thus far, the Hutts, that was a total misdirection, and they're waiting for both sides to decimate each other and then come in and call up whatever's left over and reassert their power.
Yeah.
But that said, back to the gift, let's say, from the menagerie of the Hutts with that Rancor, it was very humanizing to get to see little kid Boba Fett being introduced to his new puppy. That was
is that the spot right there?
Yeah, it's at the spot. It was very sweet, and I thought it was really interesting, though, that Danny Trejo's character. I don't remember the character's name right now. Can anyone help me with that?
I don't remember. Sure. I don't remember him saying
he's a new Rancor Master. Okay,
yeah. Rancor Master works for me.
Rancor Master too. When he makes the point of saying about the eye contact and the imprinting, right?
Mm-hmm.
And at the end of that scene, Rancor Master 2 says something to the Rancor, which almost leads me to believe that there might be a deception to come later. I can't remember exactly what he said to the Rancor, but it was something that was...
I think he just said he'll be back. Don't worry, he'll be back.
Yeah.
His official title on IMDb is Rancor Keeper.
Rancor Keeper.
There you go.
He doesn't have a name.
But in saying that, don't worry, he'll be back, with Danny Trejo, there's always this underlying menace to him, right? In his delivery.
He said that the first person that the Rancor, the reason they took off the flaps, the first human he would see would be who he imprinted on.
Right.
So I think when the Rancor turns, he's just saying he'll be back. It's okay. I think that's how I took that. I mean, I could be off, but
that very well could be. But like I said, the underlying menace of Danny Trejo in any performance that he gives, it's like, is this guy's one dangerous mofo.
Oh,
and
yeah.
I think that's why I had such a difficult time with trusting, the gift of the Rancor, especially that it had just come from the Hutts.
Exactly.
It's like, did the Hutts just put a man on the inside, so to speak?
Yeah. See, that I don't have a problem believing that, because it's like it's kind of like we'll call it a Trojan horse.
Yeah, exactly.
Here's the Rancor. Here's something I know you want. You have a pit. We know it's not there. Here's a Rancor, and don't pay attention to that guy.
Yeah, exactly.
And I think that there could be something to that. That actually, there could be. So
that's what I was left with that scene. Yeah. I didn't feel. I felt like Boba Fett had his little kid moment, but overall, there's something deeper and darker going on.
Yeah, I mean, and here's the moment that we're talking about. He walks over to it, blinders come off. He walks up. What's he do? There's the puppy moment. It's like, aw. Yeah. And then they humanize the Rancor. So, and then I don't want to get into that scene just yet. That's coming up next. I think we pretty much have gone over the Rancor. I think we're going to see a lot of it next week. At least that's my opinion. You guys have a different opinion about next week with us seeing more of it?
No, you're right. He's going to ride the Rancor in
Oh yeah.
to town. That's going to be the payoff when the next time that he enters town triumphantly will be on the back of the Rancor.
I agree.
Right. Definitely.
Okay. So moving on to the next scene, because I think the next scene sets up that the beginning of the episode. I think that this ties to the beginning. There's a lack of respect towards Boba Fett. He walks in. I'm going to play the scene real quick. You see again, there's that scummy dude. He turns around and says, you know what? I'm going to free the schedule up, knowing the fact he's going in there to be a scummy dude. I'm going to kind of play this through because this plays through for a minute. Let me just ask this before we get into that scene. Why is Boba Fett showing so much restraint on killing this guy?
Well, he is still the mayor.
Yeah.
Well, the guy that's his assistant.
Yeah, I think that's just a respect for the office of the mayor. I mean,
Exactly.
Versus if you wanted to gain respect in the underworld, the first thing you do is you walk in, the guy disrespects you again, does this. You know, I got to be honest with you. If this were the streets of New York, 1920s, 1930s, that guy doesn't live much longer. So I'm just saying, when you're talking about a respect thing in the world, and I know Boba's trying to make a name for himself as a daimyo, and he's trying not to be, like.
Well, don't forget, we don't get to see what happened to the Major Domo yet. I mean,
I know, but I'm just saying, all in all, it was like.
No, well, he might be getting fed to that Rancor.
That's actually a good point, and I'm glad you brought that up because, like I said, I really just wanted to push this fact because the beginning of the episode starts off with, I'm embarrassed for you. You're not being respected. What happens? This is, here's a sign of respect. Here's the Rancor. Then we go into the mayor's office, lack of respect again. There seems to be this back and forth. And I just wanted to point it out because the next scene, obviously, what does he do? He sits there, and I'm going to let you guys kind of go through it. Larry, I'm going to start with you again and just kind of go through. He walks back into the mayor's office because he's had it. And what do you see, and take us all the way through. He's pissed, and now it's the Vespa battle.
Yeah, right. So he shows up, to see the mayor, and then he's stopped by these closed doors here that you don't have an appointment. Let me see what I can do, and move some of his not so time sensitive appointments around, and again it's just showing that Boba's he's really trying to do this, the lead with respect type thing, and it's just not working out for him. So they end up breaking down the door. They go back there. They see that nobody's around. Mayor's not there. His assistant's not there. And then the chase is on. It's like, and then this chase again is part of the not so good part of this episode. But it's I don't know. It's really kind of all over the board for me with this thing, with this chase scene. But it's there's some cool little things they throw in there that to make it a little more interesting. But again, it's kind of the whole scene is very, I don't know. It's just, I don't know. Just watching it there, that playback is like, wow. I don't know. It seems really slow.
Very slow.
The pace of the chase itself, it just seems really slow, really kind of methodical. And just not really entertaining, and it's just kind of like waiting for this whole scene to be over. To be honest, I mean, again, there's a couple little little things here that kind of I'm like, oh, okay, that's cool, but overall, just not a great scene in my opinion, and it's just hopefully it gets better next week.
Yeah,
DC, take us away, DC.
Larry, you're so 100% the mirror of everything that I think about that scene. It was the most boring chase scene in Star Wars. How did they do that?
Ever.
How does the same brain trust, meaning Lucasfilm, the same one that brought us pod racing, that brought us, the chase scenes in Coruscant, that brought us the chase scene on Corellia from the Solo movie, that brought us those chase scenes. How could they deliver something so freaking
Boring.
just
All right.
boring?
So who's a
I don't
car
wanna
guy
say
here, and
dumb,
who doesn't
because-
think that the front of this looks like a goat? Like they took a GTO from the front, and then as it moves through, and you start to see a little bit more of it, and it starts to look like
It looks like the model from Solo. It looks very much
does.
like one
Very
that's
similar,
Solo.
yeah.
Yeah, that's Solo hot wires and jumps. And
but like right there, that's a Cadillac.
Oh, it's gorgeous.
It's
But
Cadillac
let's
meets
make it
a
at least a little
300C meets a GTO.
Yeah.
I don't know.
the way it was.
Okay, but here's the big kicker, right? Boba Fett's got a jetpack the whole
Right,
time.
I know. Yep.
And
okay,
I gotta,
here's something I know about because from drone flight, right? You fly to a certain altitude and you can see a whole lot of everything. So why didn't Boba Fett just elevate to a certain altitude over Mos Espa and see? Oh, there he is right there. And
well, what
just
happens
land
at
on
the
him.
end when he
There's
does
the
the
machine.
when he does the Biff Back to the Future slide into the fruit maneuver? Who lands right in front of him?
Exactly.
Boba Fett.
Yeah, exactly.
Mark, take us home, brother. Come on, man. Do something with this.
Yeah, I mean, these guys said it. You know, the thing that really just stuck in my gut is for a franchise that gave us pod racing, that gave us the chase scene on Corellia, that gave us the chase scene on Coruscant with Obi-Wan and Anakin. It was very disappointing. The lack of speed was really what I think made it so brutal. And the way that it was shot, the tracking shot and the speed made it look way too slow. And it really took the intensity down to like a 1 or a 2. The only part of the entire thing that was a chuckle for me, and the thing that chase scene should not have elicited laughter. It should have elicited excitement.
Right.
And it elicits laughter because they destroy the Ralph McQuarrie concept art in the middle of the chase scene, which was from Return of the Jedi.
Mm-hmm.
Great Easter egg, but that's not supposed to be a funny moment. That's supposed to be them shaking this guy down and now realizing why you're so afraid, or you should be so afraid of Boba Fett. It's what made, I think, to put a bow on it for me, it's what made this episode so weird was that it had really great moments that were tonally pitch perfect. The meeting with the Hutts. It had some moments that even worked for me, like the fight with Black Chrysanthemum. And then it had moments that were just so oddly off color with everything that we've gotten so far in the series that I was wondering what happens. Like,
Yes.
Was someone high when they wrote the screenplay?
Beautifully said. There was a lot to it. You're 100% right in the sense that, and by the way, I like the elegant spin that you put on this at the end, which is because we've gotten to that last part now where we've now beaten up Fast and Furious, Star Wars edition. We've seen the Vespa gang do their thing. Why Boba Fett is not in this? Why it's so slow? There's too much to make fun of there.
It's just low hanging fruit at this point. Why? I mean, why? You can go on Twitter, you can go on YouTube, you can go on any social media. It's low hanging fruit.
Yeah.
People have already beat it up. I can't beat it up any more than it's already. I mean, it's dead.
Oh, I can.
It's dead. It's done.
Give me a bat. I'll whack that fruit right off the tree in a heartbeat. But
yeah.
The simple truth is I think the general consensus that we all came out with tonight was not a stellar episode. There were blips that pushed the story along that were good. I think if we all had to pick, I think we all unanimously, and you guys, tell me if I'm wrong, but I think we all unanimously say that the Rancor part with Danny was the best part. With the Hutts through Rancor, that scene or that 4 minutes of film or 3 minutes of film was good. I liked the Tuscan Raider part flashback. I think that they should have developed that more because we were missing 20 minutes of an episode. There was plenty of time to do it. I feel like we were shortchanged this week more than in any other week. Even in the first week, I didn't feel as shortchanged as I felt this week because it looked like it was all over the place. I'm going to start off with DC to wrap us up as to, we know that what's the last thing he says before we cut out? It's time to go to war. So we know that it's coming. We know that there was a couple of things that happened in between there, but it's barely notable. So all in all, your thoughts on the episode and what's coming into next week?
Basically, like I talked about, when the Tuscans are essentially eradicated, my mind is still there as far as the story is concerned. I'm kind of less concerned about what's going to happen right now, how he's going to go to war with the Pikes, etc., how that's going to happen, how he's going to cull his team together. Now I'm mentally back like, okay, well, what's he going to do, in between the time from then to when he meets up with Fennec? Now I'm stuck on that again.
He's going to take the red Nikto biker gang in the next flashback.
Right.
Yeah, but I'm like, okay, what's his next team building going to be in the flashbacks, or are we done with that? Is he just going to be a madman wandering the desert for 3.5 years until he runs into Fennec again and regains his armor from Mando after he takes it off of Cobb Vanth? I don't know. So as far as where it goes, I just see us hopefully getting back to that, rebuilding more of the lore of the history of the man and how he, I guess, learn how to put a team together again, because that's essentially what I think he has to do, unless he becomes, again, a nomad wandering the desert for 3.5 years. And hopefully that lends, at least from a storytelling perspective, as to how he is able to go to war, which we're about to see over the next, I'm assuming, 3.5 episodes, because we're 3 episodes in the tank. And I know at least the first half of the next episode is going to be blown on some form of exposition. So,
okay. Mark.
Predictions for the next episode. Vengeance is on the menu. If we're going to continue with flashbacks, the flashbacks we're going to get is him exacting pure revenge on the red Nikto biker gang and him destroying them. And I would imagine that would be juxtaposed with him extracting vengeance on the Major Domo. Someone's getting fed to that rancor this week. And I would say prime candidate is the polite, if ever charming Major Domo.
I like that theory, by the way.
And then I think that it's going to be bookended with him at the table saying, which boba do you want? Join me, but I can be the boba that feeds this guy to the rancor, or I can be this guy, but don't push me. Join me, don't push me. We have the Pikes here. So I think this is going to be the Godfather calling all of the lieutenants together of Mos Espa. The scene that he's at the table with all of the aliens, that's this week. That's it. That's this week. And then everything else, you have nothing else left from the trailers. Everything is spent. And then who knows what we're going to get in 5, 6, 7. If I had to put money on something, I'd say 50-50 odds that Crimson Dawn is behind the Pikes. I don't think the Pikes have enough sway anymore in the galaxy to control Tatooine and to push the Hutts around. So I think they are being backed by Kira. I think the big reveal that we get when all of this is said and done, like they did with the Book of Boba Fett, I think that this is going to go into season 2, but we're going to get Kira. That Emilia Clarke is still under contract for one project. They're not going to make another solo movie as much as I wish they would. They're going to use Emilia Clarke and her contract to make a story surrounding Crimson Dawn and the underworld, and she's going to be teased. And that's what's going to get, that's going to be the reveal at the end of this show.
Our Sith Lord has just showed up. Let us all just quickly say happy anniversary to you and Heather. You're a dead man walking since you're checking in on us while you're supposed to be out having fun. But we love you. We miss you this week. Be glad you weren't here. This was a rough episode. Next week will be better. But happy anniversary to you, brother. So, Larry, take us home, man.
Yeah. So again, a happy anniversary, Krew and Heather. Enjoy. So yeah, this episode was, like, I think as everybody has said, has been a mess. I do hope that they do. Obviously, there's gonna be some more flashbacks about the Tuscan Raiders and how that plays out. So I'm looking forward to that, to kind of see how that gets wrapped up and where that goes. That's going to be good. And then hopefully this, the next few episodes, like I said, we got with 3 episodes down, and there's a total of 7, right, in this season. In this season of Book of Boba Fett. So I think they're gonna really, hopefully, crank it up here and really give us some good storytelling, some good content, some good action. I hope, because this Boba Fett is like, talk is getting a little old. It's getting a little old. I need to see a little bit more action in this series for me to really stay engaged. I mean, yes, it's Star Wars, even bad Star Wars. I will watch bad Star Wars, but I would really enjoy it a lot more if I had a lot more of the good old Boba Fett that's just gonna, more disintegrations, please, more disintegrations. I would like to see that, and just kind of crank it up this last few episodes.
Yeah, no doubt. I think we're all on board with the same thing, which is it is time to be Boba Fett. And I think with that, I think we have put or closed the chapter on this book of Boba Fett. I think next week, we'll be back with. I will up my game for next week. I was not on point this week, so my bad to everybody. With getting some of the videos, it's the first time we were doing it, so I'm trying to produce while I'm doing this. So I'll be a little bit more on point for you boys next week. But I think next week we're also going to probably have some really good highlights. I think Mark is probably most on point with somebody's getting eaten. Like I'm on board with that, and I think it should be the Mayor's Aide. I think that he is as fitting as it can get. I'm going to make my prediction at some point. I'm hoping it won't be next week, but maybe the week after. We're going to see Darth Wilkie come back. I'd love to see him team up. That would be just fun.
He's coming back, yeah.
It would be fun just to see him come in, them team up.
Technically speaking, he owes Boba Fett a life debt now.
He does.
Yeah,
exactly
sure.
right.
Good
so point. I would really love to see some of those things going on. But I think with that, we're gonna say that the council is officially wrapped for the week. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to highlight you guys, let everybody know where to find you guys, and this way we can get out of here for another session. We'll wait 6 whole days until we can see the next one. And I'm going to try watching all 3 in a row and see if maybe I feel a little better about this one. I don't know. I got to watch it a couple more times.
I don't think so.
No, I don't think so, man.
I'm trying, man. I'm really trying.
Godfather, just watch 1 and 2. Avoid the third.
But I'm trying to like it, though. Like, I even got I'm trying here,
It's not going to happen, though, man.
But let's go ahead and bring you guys up. Mark, roll us out. Tell them where they can find you. Thank you for being here, by the way.
Yeah, man.
It's so much fun listening to your point of view.
I love Star Wars. When there's Star Wars, good or bad, I'll still be talking it. And to that end, so join us on Sunday at 7:30 p.m. at This Diz Life on YouTube. Go and subscribe over there. We have a podcast called Babu's Frickin' Podcast with my high school friends. And we're going to be, we're not going to be really kicking around the episode. We're going to be doing a lot of speculation and a lot of the Easter eggs, like the Bomar monks, and a lot of this. We are going to salvage this by diving into the lore and the stuff that's really good with it, and talk about like where Rancors come from, and get into Dathomir and the Night Sisters. So we're going to be doing a lot of the deep dives on the Easter eggs. It's not going to be a crazy long episode on Sunday, but if you really love that kind of stuff and you like just Star Warsing out, join us. Babu's Frickin' Podcast, Sunday night, 7:30 p.m. And again, we're primarily a Disney-based channel. Please subscribe. We have a lot of fun over there on This Diz Life. Dave hung out with us on Monday, and we had the most Disney of times, Dave.
We had a blast. So that was a good time. Let me just say this to you guys. Make sure you get over there. Support all these great guys. They're fantastic. Every one of them is a content creator. Go over, check them out. I say this time and time again. Do not just hit the subscribe button for the sake of hitting subscribe. Go watch their content, like their content, and then leave a comment. Yeah. Because there's nothing more. And I'm going to steal this from Pete, which, by the way, Pete, I'm going to go ahead and throw up real quick, just so that this way when I'm quoting him, it makes sense. Pete's our partner channel, but I'm going to steal this line from him because he uses it all the time. there is nothing like waking up in the morning, finding that you have a new subscriber, somebody that's interested and likes your content, that did like it, that left a comment, that engaged in what you were doing. There is no better feeling. So make sure when you go over and you check these folks out, give them a watch.
Yeah. I mean, that's the dopamine rush, but like we all put so much time and care into this.
Yes.
That when we get that kind of feedback from the ether and the ether actually gives us that kind of feedback, it really does. It means a lot. It
Stop
really
hitting the ether, Mark. And with that, Mark, have a great one. Thanks for being on the council tonight, brother.
Evacuate in my moment of triumph. You overestimate your chances. You may fire when ready.
Take care, brother.
Nice. We'll see ya, Mark.
Thanks.
Yeah, see ya.
I'll tell you what, you never know what to expect on this council, everybody.
That's good.
DC, tell them where to find you. Tell them all about it. Tell them how to find Blocking and Talking, and go.
Well, my wife and I, Michelle, we run a little YouTube channel called DC Michelle Do. And just like Dave mentioned, every Wednesday night we have a little Lego Star Wars show called Blocking and Talking that you need to come and check out if you like to do two things, which is A, talk about Star Wars, talk about life, and or build Lego. Wednesday nights are this place to be with us at DC Michelle Do. And also, I want to invite everyone to come out and visit us tomorrow night at 6 p.m. for our very first new show. It's going to be cooking. And tomorrow night, we're going to be cooking Boba Fettuccine Alfredo with a little bit of R2-D2 snacks. And the name of our show is R2 Cooks, One Kitchen.
I like this.
Nice.
Tag me in that post. I want to make sure I promote that tomorrow.
Definitely will do. But like I said, it's a channel run by myself, DC, and my wife, Michelle. And we just love putting us out there and sharing our lives and the positivity that we have to offer with you guys, with a lot of Star Wars, some Disney, and a whole lot of love and positivity. And
give us your catchphrase.
And as I was going to say before we sign off, and she might be out of earshot, so I'll have to close out the whole phrase. But our thing that we always like to say whenever we say goodnight or goodbye to any streamer show is do or do not. There is no try.
Nice.
Thanks,
Other
Counselor.
man. I will look forward to your Instagram so I can tag that. Everybody get over there, support that tomorrow night. That's going to be fantastic. When you're all done and you can't take any more of what is essentially the new Festival of the Arts tomorrow, tune in to DC tomorrow night and make sure that you support them and make sure that you say, hey, that sounds wonderful and yummy.
Right.
DC,
Come and eat with us.
have a great night.
You too, Dave.
All right, brother. Hey. That takes us up to our special guest, our Castle Life Larry. Tell them about you, where to find you, all the jazz that goes with it.
Sure. My wife and I, Andrea, have our YouTube channel. It's called Our Castle Life. We do a lot of Disney vlogs, park vlogs, Disney unboxings. We do a lot of box swaps also with other Disney creator channels, which is kind of fun. We do other theme parks. We do Universal and some other things. Anything that's kind of cool. Monsterpalooza is another one that we kind of like to do. It's kind of a horror themed event that we haven't had a chance to do because of COVID, but we're hoping to get back there. So that's always really cool. So yeah, I mean, I definitely enjoy coming and hanging out with you guys and talking about Star Wars. I don't get to do that a ton, but I really enjoy this. And it's a couple hours here. I can kind of get in there and talk about all things Star Wars. I really appreciate you having me. And of course, I'm also on Instagram, Our Castle Life Larry on Instagram, and Our Castle Life Andrea on Instagram also. So yeah, if you're looking for Disney content and maybe something new that you might maybe not have seen before, come check us out, and we'll happy to have you.
They're West Coasters, so check them out.
Yeah,
they go to Disneyland a lot as well. So they do both coasts. So make sure you check out their content. And it has been a pleasure having you on. You are welcome on any time that you want.
Appreciate it.
We're probably going to have you do some guest hosting. We may even have to, I don't know, dust off a seat for you and make you a permanent member of the council.
Hey,
We'll
that
talk
sounds
about
good.
that. Yeah, we'll talk about that and get you maybe in on it, because the council doesn't end when Book of Boba Fett ends. It just
Right.
gets started.
There you
So
go.
we're just getting going. But I just want to say thank you for being in again tonight and filling in for Sith Lord, because, well, we all know where he is.
Yeah, right.
Larry, take care. Have a great night.
All right. Again,
Thanks for
thanks
being
again,
here.
Dave.
Bye-bye.
Appreciate it.
So we're going to wrap up tonight. Let me do a couple of quick things that have to do with FPE for those of you who are hanging out. This chat's going to take you directly into our next show of the night, which is the Disney Underground. We have special guest Dillo's Diz. That's going to be with Gene Fitzmagic and Magical Maddie B. So make sure you stay tuned. Chat's going to take you right into the next one. We'd already touched on Pete McDivitt. He is our partner channel. If you love great Disney content creator, he is an amazing one at that. He also likes to do his sports. So if you're a sports enthusiast as well as Disney, make sure that you're checking out Pete McDivitt. That is our partner channel. I'm going to run a couple of quick things I think you guys are really going to be interested in. So let me go ahead and start with this one because it has to do with live streaming.
We are the Florida Park Explorers.
We explore the parks 5 to 6 days a week with great live streams and vlogs. We cover everything from rides and food to magic and fun and fireworks. So come join us on our adventures as we take you through
the Disney parks and more.
And check out our all-new channel, the FPE Network. And thanks for watching.
Hey, that's shameless self-promotion, isn't it? Anyway, if you guys are interested in live streaming, check us out on our channel, Florida Park Explorers. Tomorrow, we will be in Epcot. Most of the day tomorrow, live streaming, shooting footage for the new Festival of the Arts 2022. So make sure that you tune in for that. And for everybody who's a member, or if you've been considering membership, this is for you. So, if you haven't considered membership, go over, hit the button, says join. It'll tell you all about membership, both on our channel and on Florida Park Explorers. But with that, I'd like to say to everybody, thanks for tuning in. Thanks for watching. If you're watching this on replay, leave a comment down below. Let us know what you thought of the show, what your theories, thoughts are, and otherwise, and what you think is going to happen next week. But until then, this is the Galactic Council saying this was out of its world. That is so bad. That is ridiculous. But thanks for being here, and we hope that you guys have a truly epic night. Take care.
Wow.